Did Moses and the children of Israel come out of Egypt almost 3,500 years ago? Did the Red Sea divide to make the people walk through the ocean? A miracle, yes, but not impossible. Today, you can discover evidence from old history many places in the world. Why don't researchers find traces of 600,000 men, and in addition women and children, who have lived around in the Sinai wilderness? Could it be that they are actually looking in the wrong place? It seems natural that they are looking for the Sinai mountain on the Sinai peninsula. But who decided that this place was the biblical Sinai? The Jews didn't. It took place as the Roman Empire was trying to unite Christianity with the state. Creating the Christian holy sites and relics was therefore part of the agenda. It was the mother of Emperor Constantine who made the decision about where this mountain should be located. Her name was Helena, and in 330 AD, she traveled to many countries to look for places mentioned in the Bible. She insisted that this specific mountain was the Sinai of the Bible, and the whole peninsula got its name after her decision. She also claimed to have found Jesus' cross 300 years after he died, and it is said that she distributed so many pieces, relics, from the cross that it represented enough wood to make a whole forest of crosses. Helena claimed to have been given a divine revelation confirming that this was the right mountain, but her claim did not correspond with the explanation in the Bible. It is of no value that the Bedouins who now live around this mountain confirms that it is the real Sinai mountain, because they are descendants of a people who were placed there by Emperor Justinian 500 years after Christ. They are not at all from this area. Thus, the name Sinai was given this mountain more than 2,000 years after Moses and the Israelites were there. And so why is this important? Well, most historians and scholars now say that the whole story of the Israel exodus from Egypt is unlikely. It's a myth or even fabricated, and they say it because there is no evidence to be found around this mountain that they were ever there. There were supposed to be thousands of graves and traces of settlements. And so if we are to really find out if this biblical story was true or not, we actually need to investigate the possibility that the reason they haven't found evidence from their camp and wanderings doesn't have to be that it didn't take place. It could also mean it took place somewhere else. Today, there are many suggestions about where the true Sinai mountain might be. Very few believe in the traditional place anymore. It doesn't fit the geographical situation, and there are no archaeological discoveries to support the theory. Before Helena came to this peninsula, it was called Ta Mefkat, land of turquoise, named after the valuable turquoise stone they found there at the time of the pharaohs. Near the mountain is a temple built by the Egyptian princess Hatshepsut. The temple lies close to the mines where they found these precious stones, and the mines were most likely in operation at the time of Moses. If this really was the right Sinai mountain, Moses and the Israelites would not have been safe from the Egyptians at this place. The Bible calls the Sinai Peninsula for the Red Sea wilderness because it was surrounded by the Red Sea on 3 sides. But where did the Israelites go on their way from Egypt? The book of Exodus tells us that they first were on their way to Midian and not to Canaan. God told Moses that after he had brought the people out of Egypt, they should worship God on this mountain. And Moses was at that time in Midian when he received this instruction. So, where is Midian? Well, both old and new maps point to one place, to the east of the Aqaba Bay. Moses took the same path that anyone who wanted to reach Midian would have to take today, across what is now called the Sinai Peninsula, through today's Elat and down to Midian. According to the Bible, the children of Israel camped the first time on the road in a place called Etham. Today, the place is called El Thamad. Removing some of the Arabic endings, it is still called Etham. But instead of moving on to Elat, Moses is told by God not to continue straight forward, but to turn and go to Pihakirot. Then we get a description of how the terrain changes. For Pharaoh will say of the children of Israel, they are entangled in the land. The wilderness hath shut them in. From Exodus 14:3. That's exactly what we see both on maps and when we today repeat their journey. The flat wilderness turns into a massive mountain valley where the road winds through the enclosed landscape. At the end of the long wadi, they came to a large beach being 7 times 3 kilometers in size. Today, this is called Nuweiba. Now, no matter what evidence you find here, you will end in a conflict with historians and scholars that denies the existence of God and of such a miracle as the one told in the Bible. In their minds, no sea opened, and so any evidence that suggests it did must be wrong by default. But we continue into our research with an open mind. Was the story, as it was told in the Bible, true? This is where the water would open for the Israelites, if it took place. Nuweiba is short for Nuweiba al-Muzayna in Arabic, which means waters that Moses opened. Without God's intervention, they would have been overtaken by the Egyptians. The road to the south was closed by mountains. From the west and north, the Egyptian soldiers came via the same road, and they camped just north of the Israelites. A wall of fire and mysterious fog separated the two camps the whole night. After an intense wind had been blowing all through the night, the children of Israel passed through the sea on dry ground, and the waters stood as a wall for them on the right side and the left side. Someone in ancient times has built a memorial on each side of where they crossed. Maybe it was King Solomon, whom we know was there. There is another biblical record that indicates that this was the place that they crossed the sea. The name, Yam Suf. Pharaoh's chariots and his host hath he cast into the sea. His chosen captains also are drowned in the Red Sea. The Hebrew name, Yam Suf. Exodus 15:4. And King Solomon made a navy of ships in Ezion-Geber, which is beside Eloth, on the shore of the Red Sea, Yam Suf, in the land of Edom. In the 1 Kings chapter 9, verse 26. This sea is obviously the same. Solomon did not build ships in Egypt, and we know where Eloth is, and so we know that this is the water that they had to have gone over. Normally, in the Red Sea, it would be hopeless to cross over even though the sea opened in front of them, because there is usually a great depth difference and lots of coral reefs. They had chariots and lots of things. They had livestock, children and women. If they were to cross within hours, as the Bible suggests, the road across would have to have been less steep, with less things in the way. Investigating the underwater conditions and the seabed at this particular place, we find something amazing. Across to Saudi Arabia, there is a sandy bridge cleared of all stone and coral reefs. On both sides of this underwater road, the sea is very deep. Slowly, the Israelites could go down into the depths and up, out on the other side. Measurements show this underwater road clearly, and many divers have also proven that there is a sandy bridge. And this fits with the biblical description. Art thou not it which hath dried the sea, the waters of the great deep, that hath made the depths of the sea a way for the ransom to pass over? The book of Isaiah 51:10. We now see that it is at least possible for the Israelites to cross over at this specific point. Findings along this sandbank make this discovery even more relevant. It was Ronald Wyatt who started to follow all the Bible clues of the Exodus who ended up at this beach. Curious if there would be any evidence to be seen on the seabed. When Ron Wyatt and his two sons dived here for the first time, they found corals attached to strange objects. Metal detectors show that it is metal. Several have the form of a wagon wheel with 4, 6, and 8 spokes in the wheels. This is only found in Egypt's 18th dynasty, just at the time when the Bible says that they emigrated. Since then, more divers have found traces of wheels, metal caps, and samples have been taken of bones from the seabed. The Bible says that God removed the wheels from the wagons to prevent the Egyptians from reaching the Israelites. The wheels are found separated from the wagons. Several wheels with gold plating have also been found. They have been seen by 4 people who have dived there. But it is not allowed to remove anything from this beach. Coralized wheels are found on both sides of the ocean where they crossed. The Bible tells us that all the Egyptian soldiers died, including Pharaoh himself. When Moses led the Israelites out of Egypt, he was 80 years old.